free, and hopefully it leads you to be free. So anything you want to add or think about or wonder about is welcome.
I just make a comment anyway about I appreciated your reminding me what do I rely on during the day, and as I forget, because quite often it's like anything physical, my home, things going my way, whatever it is, pretty traditionally, and I know especially like that was a good reminder for me today that my earth suit experienced a lot of pain and distress, and so I noticed my mind's let out of judgment saying, this sucks, and I could tell that my attitude was heading south quickly, and I knew enough not to play into it,
Yeah.
you know, and do that, because I've done that previously, and I saw that that was an effective strategy, but I really liked that little reminder, what do I take refuge in, what is really important to me, and through all seasons when things are really cool, because I can also forget it, because most of the time things are really cool and going very well. So that was a good reminder to again take refuge regularly, which I have to be honest, I forget. I always in the morning and in the evening time when I'm falling asleep try to take refuge, but hell, I'm at the helm the rest of the day. And I don't know if anyone here does that same thing, or how do you remind yourself to take refuge regularly?
That's a good question. You know, I remember when we were little kids and we would be driving in Montana in ice and snow. And when the road would get real slippery, everybody starts saying the Hail Mary. And then it'd be nice and nobody'd say it, you know. And that's how it reminds me how we do refuge now, you know. Like, oh, I need, you know, help. The rest of the time, meh.
Yeah.
I don't know, you just build habits, you know, build new habits. We have habits. We have habits already. We're really good at building habits, you know. I always say the funny thing, I thought it was funny that Lana Michael said, someone asked him, well, how do you build the new habit? He said, well, now you get up in the morning and you put pants on, right? And you put your right leg in first and then your left leg. So tomorrow, put your left leg in first and then your right leg, and the next day, left leg, left leg, left leg. Pretty soon, in about a week, you'll put your left leg in without too much struggle. It's like that. So, you know, there are a lot of, there's a book called The 54 Mental Factors. I bet you tried to read it, didn't you? Yeah, The 54 Mental Factors.
Tried
by
to read
Geshe Robinson.
A small editorial comment woven in.
Well, I say that because I tried to read it and I never have finished. But it's a marvelous book, so why I'm bringing it up? It is! But why I'm bringing it up is you can get that complex about it, and you know, which factor, intention, motivation, attention, you know, on and on and on. But so there is just this factor of remembering. And that's what Eric was talking about this morning, and that would be on YouTube if people wanted to look at it from this morning. This factor of I'm off the breath. I intended to be on the breath for this session. Oh, I'm off. It's that factor. And it's just strengthening it as you go around. I now have a new habit that I really like when I go into any big store, because I don't like to go in big stores, but sometimes I have to for certain things that are in the big stores that are cheaper than anywhere else. And I used to just get sunk about all the stuff and like, let's just open the doors and let the homeless people in, or let's just bring people over from, South America and let them have this. It's going to get thrown away out the back door, like a third of it anyway. But good thing I'm not in charge. It would be way chaotic. Anyway, but a teacher gave me a brand new habit because I said I just get so unhappy in those places, like depressed and guilty and all that. She said, walk in the door, stop for a 10-second, and give everything away in your mind to those people. Mm-hmm. And as you're going along, you see, 59,000 avocados piled up, and give them away, and just keep going through the store, giving it away. And I said, but nobody gets it when I do that. They don't get it. And she said, but you learn to give, and then you get the habit of giving. So I can tell a story about how that showed up. I was at Fred Meyer. That's my most not favorite store, and because it's the big one on Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And you just get lost in there. But, well, Bob is a great example. Go shopping with Bob. If you go with Bob, you will get to know pretty much everybody's story in the whole store. Because he goes around saying, how's your day? And it takes a long time, so I don't shop with him. But I watched him. But one day during this really cold, icy time, I was over at Fred Meyer. I had to wait for a prescription, and so I bought some sushi, and I was sitting in they have a little eating place there, and there's big windows that face the east side. And I'm eating my sushi, I'm having an okay time, and I look out, and there's a person out there in the wind and rain, wrapped in a blanket, down on the ground, and every once in a while and the blanket looks soaking wet and kind of peeking out because they're smoking and taking a drag and blowing it out. But they're in this high school wind, and I just sat there going, oh my God, damn me. Warm, dry, okay, got money, food, I don't know, So I finished my sushi and got my stuff, and I thought, I don't know what to do. This is the difficulty. The skillful means, okay, the upaya. We can have all the compassionate intention, I want to help, but man, it's not so easy because you don't know what help the person needs. But I thought, okay, I'm going to be clumsy about this, but I'm doing the experiment, the helping experiment. And so I went and I bought a poncho, it was $10 or something, one of those that goes, it was pretty heavy and pretty long. It looked like a small person. And I went out there and I didn't know, maybe they don't want this. Maybe they'll yell at me. Maybe they're crazy, or whatever. But I wasn't doing it for their reaction. And that is what had changed, this habit of giving away. Your mind just wants to do it. And I think we're way too tight. We don't experiment very much. We should experiment a little. Should. Let's say we can. And so I went over, and of course it's a bit easier for me. I'm an older woman in a fairly small body, so I don't think I scare people very much, and I'm aware of that. Like maybe a big guy coming up and saying something, the person might be scared right away. But they were under their blanket, and I said, hello, 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 and just kind of kept doing that. And out peeks this elderly woman, and just the sweetest face, and smoking her cigarette, and she had the toughest skin. I mean, like, you knew this person had been out there a lot. And I said, I don't know if you want this, but I got this poncho. Would you like to have it? And she said, oh, yeah. And, she shook her blanket off, and I had to help her get it on, and we talked, and she gave me some really awful lifesaver things that were all chemical that someone had given her. But that was nice, too, because she wanted to give something back. And I'm telling this story just because it's about giving, about this, just starting to give. And it came from relying on the Dharma. Just the habit, the habit, the habit. Walk in a store, give it all away. Do this, give it all away. Do that, give it all away. Walk around. And Bob and I go hiking. We try once a week. And we're out in the woods. We just stop and do a little mandala. Give this all away. Especially if people who can't get out here. They're disabled. They're in jail. They're in the immigration prison or whatever. Just give it away. So that starts, what am I relying on? I'm not just relying on me having a good time. Me having a good time is good. But you start expanding it. Who else is in the world? Does that make sense? Could you do it? Could it become something? Yeah. Maybe. I think it's really good to try and fail at it too. I gave a $1 to a guy on the street once downtown, and he screamed at me, "I don't take money from women." I was so mad. I was so mad. And, just moved on. I didn't tell him I was mad, but it was like, "You didn't want my generosity, you sexist, blah, blah." And then I watched, like, we expected something back that time. I wasn't okay with him refusing it. Later I could laugh, but that's why you won't know till you experiment what comes up for you. Usually embarrassment. We're timid. I don't want to approach. I'm scared. I'm scared they're crazy. Yeah, well, so they scream at you. It's good practice. Good practice to get screamed at by strangers. Because they're not living in your house, so you can go home and you get a chance to just kind of and go reconstitute. Wow, Mara showed up and I freaked out. Any thoughts about any of that chaotic?
I thought it was really a good pointer to, when we talk about, well, how do I remember, then having the little associations, the little triggers, like going to a store, okay, do whatever, that practice or any other. And same thing, like, okay, could be like, okay, every time I get in a car, I'm gonna, whatever, be grateful for my precious human existence or whatever. And just having little, it seems to be a helpful method for building habits is to make these little associations.
And make them with something you already have a habit about. You got to brush your teeth, right? So you brush your teeth and you say, I was doing this the other day and I was like, what could this have to do with helping anyone? Really, Zopa. And you just say, oh, may I brush my teeth so that my health will stay good, so I can practice the Dharma. So then you're doing it again, You're taking refuge in the Dharma. So you can do it with anything. You can be creative. You can find the connection, So pick start with one thing you could that you already do all the time. The easiest one is you eat. So always offer in your mind. Doesn't have to be a big deal. I can be at my Mormon sister-in-law's. She doesn't know I'm praying, and I'm offering all the wonderful food on the table to anybody who's not going to eat today, to the Buddhas, to the Dharma. May I use the energy for that? It's that long. What was that, 5 seconds? But then you just do it each time. And plenty of times I forget. Today I was all excited and went and got potato salad and a piece of chicken because it was picnic time, right? Because the sun was out. It was like picnic. And I started eating the whole thing and then went, wow, what happened to prayers? Oh, well, you better say something now. You're almost at the end. Better late than never,
My mother had a little story she told about going to some family where somebody started in eating before the food prayer. And whoever's saying the prayer, for what we're about to see, and for what Cousin Minnie has already eaten.
We are grateful. Right, that's good. I'm grateful for what I already ate. I do that sometimes. I point that out just because it's all about any habit.
On the topic of refuge,
Yeah.
there's something I think kind of subtle and very ordinary that is far more powerful than we want to give credit. Or we're looking for something more dramatic when we take refuge usually. The
Yeah.
Buddha, that's pretty dramatic really.
Yeah.
Should be
Who
kind
is
of
that?
But when we actually stop to look, like you're describing, sort of the kind of what am I actually taking refuge in, and could I step away from this a little bit? That's actually it's a very profound practice, and it does require a very consistent effort, and it does require very particular, picking out things very, very, very particular that you're going to apply your attention to. So it's not the intention to become just generally a nice person.
No, that won't work.
No,
That won't
it
work.
doesn't work. But right now, doing construction work, for example, there are plenty of opportunities to take refuge in irritation and anger when some little thing doesn't quite go right. I slip and something gets dinged. I slip and my thumb gets dinged.
And certain
Something-
words come to mind.
Yeah, then there's this. And part of it is this. Particularly, if something you push something and something kind of basically does the equivalent of slap you in the face.
Yeah.
It's very easy to go into kind of a survival mode, because when we're attacked, that comes up, and even if what attacked you is something you just did,
Even if it's a board.
yeah, it's just a
Piece of
board,
wood.
and I caused it to attack me. By dropping it on my foot, whatever. But to kind of pick that and say, okay, I'm going to catch the first wave of reaction, and I'll do that over and over again. I'll try to use every single instant that something happens like that as an opportunity to let that go, to not take that kind of refuge. And so that's it's kind of simple. It doesn't sound quite as kind of sort of so wonderful as you taking refuge in the Buddha, but it's definitely taking refuge in the Dharma.
Yeah, and I think it start where we are, not in some kind of removed fantasy land. I mean, it's very good to do the formal prayers, if you're practicing, but it's just we got to get it out of our daily lives. We got to do the practice in our daily lives. You feel depressed, that's your koan to work on, It's not about ignore all that and do something else, Or you're being a carpenter, then that's it, You're unemployed, that's it.
I'm curious about the mechanics of what you just described.
Mm-hmm.
When you set yourself the intention that next time I get bit by something I just did, I'm going to catch it and not do the automatic, cursing at myself or whatever it's going to be. But what is it we actually can do in that moment with our mind, when we get bit and when the anger comes up, but we don't bite or we don't shout, what is it we're actually doing? in our mind.
You've tried it, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna,
Yeah, Jeff, what do you do?
yeah,
just
mostly
pretending.
it's sort of like the first explanation will be like doing shamatha and finding out that I'm way far away, and that this instant that I find that I'm way far away, I can come back and watch the back and forth scenario, or a couple back and forths in my own mind. Like I could shout, but I could just laugh too.
I think it depends really how it works out. At first these things usually work out. It's something is at some distance in the rear view mirror before it really occurs to us that.
Yeah, you already
that-
ate your picnic. You
Yes.
say, now I'm going to say my prayer.
Yeah,
I offered the food that's in my body.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and that's better than not at all.
yeah, so that just happens, and sometimes that's, even after you've done it for quite a while and had other kinds of things where it seems like, oh, actually, I was actually sufficiently ready. I was doing something difficult, and my attention came up enough, so I know that the chisel could slip. I know that something could be. Yeah, and it did. So okay. It's actually not. It's not. And some of it's the kind of reflections that you've encouraged, like to reflect on the utility or lack thereof of getting angry in a situation
Ahead of time. Yeah.
So you kind of
Common
you really have
meditation.
kind of thought about it and determined that actually
You don't want to go there.
screaming just screaming and swearing is it's kind of like, well, it seems justifiable, but it's not really helpful. So
It harms people around
yeah.
you. You poison the atmosphere.
So,
I mean, you really need to think
you just
about
set it up, and the more I'm with it, the more it feels like, oh, I can just sort of, there's a kind of and that just goes off. There's no, because there isn't really anything. The whole chain that we take for granted as being this automatic thing, from the spark to the explosion and the echoes and the smoke, the whole thing that we take. Well, that's what happens.
Yeah. I can't help it. This is how I am. Those are
You
not
find out it's
reality.
It's just not automatic. There's nothing, and it's not a matter of going like that. A little bit of that sometimes, but you just kind of.
Yeah.
Your description there, though, was also when you set it up mindfully ahead of time, and then you enter it mindfully, then there really isn't much of a surprise when the thing slips, or when the so and so comes in and does something, and would you, because your mindfulness is more continuous at that point, which takes practice, of course.
But it's not just the continuity, it's the amount of energy. So, for example, the thing Bill's referring to about if you meditate occasionally on the cushion, about the disadvantages of anger. Really, there's a lot of them. It harms my health. It disturbs the minds of others. It sets up a pattern that I'm going to do it again and again and again. I mean, those are just three. There's many. And you really get clear about your decision. That all feeds a kind of energy. So then when you go into the situation, you have, it's training. It's mind training. So it's like, like you train a muscle to hit with the hammer. Now you have a really good muscle about, I don't want to be angry. I don't like it, I don't want it. Oh, I see I'm getting into a situation where that could happen. Maybe I slow down. Maybe I change what I do, or maybe you just bring more energy. Because if you have, let's say, a big habit of craving or anger, we're talking about either one, you get swamped by it, you can't have a namby-pamby kind of response, because it's going to get you every time. You have to go, wow, this pattern has a lot of energy. I'm going to bring equal energy. And that's how you change it. You know, like the Tai Chi model. You don't, here comes some energy, you meet it, you join it with almost match, and then you can shift it. But if it comes and you're like Godzilla and Bambi, you know, and that's what we do a lot, I think, with our suffering patterns. We say, I really want to change this, but we don't kind of get it together to make the change. And the getting it together is on the cushion and off the cushion work, both. So, but what's quite helpful to make this doable is see what your first most persistent suffering pattern is. So I could see right away mine was attachment. Other people, anger. Other people, I'm just in a fog all the time. Well, that's ignorance. Those are the three biggies. And then there's envy, jealousy all the time. Or what's the other? Pride. Those are the five nasties. And so you go, this is the one I see come up over and over and over and over. So I need to think about it. Think about it. When does it come up? What does it look like when it comes up? You're not really doing a big conceptual thing on it, but you're really trying to understand it. And then, so for you two guys, it's the carpentry thing right now, you know. But other times it's other things. You go home and it's another scene, you know. And for everybody sitting here, you have that, right? I mean, you can relate to this, that you have something. Is it just a puzzle or? Yeah.
Actually, as someone who has discovered that I'm really good at being really bad at Shamata,
what does that mean, Matt?
I fail a lot. I'm really good at failing at Shamata, and recently I've just kind of had to like really almost not go easy on myself, but choose the easiest pattern to follow.
Instead of the hardest?
Well,
or what are you saying?
Instead of trying to choose some kind of, you know, visual object that I hold in my mind with my eyes closed, or some kind, or instead of choosing just kind of an actual instead of choosing something that I really don't have a lot of familiarity with concentrating on, a lot of familiarity holding with my mind, I go to the easiest thing for me to actually hold, which is my immediate, and what I've discovered is that my immediate visual field works really well, because as soon as I start to kind of not, because I have a very old habit of daydreaming even with my eyes open, so I can, even though my eyes are open, I can still be kind of focused on an internal visual narrative while my eyes are still open, but not really focusing on anything. And then, you know, slowly, if I continue to focus on the fantasy, then slowly my eyes will start to kind of go out of focus to the point where my eyelids, you know, start to shut, and I start to kind of actually drift a little. And it's really easy to catch the eyes closing.
I see, that's a prompt for you. Okay,
it's the easiest pattern for me to notice is, hey, my eyes are closing. I'm actually starting to go into sleep.
Now, what you're talking about is a good thing. You're talking about a method that you're using for shamatha. What I was talking about, picking the biggest thing, was, and you're helping me get clearer in what I'm saying. I'm talking about major emotional patterns in life, not just when you sit down on the cushion. So think of a friend that you know has an anger pattern. Does everybody who has a friend like that? They go pretty swiftly to irritation. Okay, we all know about our friends. It's like, what do? You know? And then you say, that's what I need to be watching for. And you start watching it. You start just becoming more aware. Oh, I do that. I romanticize. I fall in love all the time. I whatever. I want to eat a lot of food all the time. Well, look at that. Okay, that's a craving thing. And you want to think about, you want to feel it in your body, just like we feel every sensation. Where is that? Sometimes when you were asking, what do you do in that moment? One of the prompts is always go on the body. You know? Ooh, anger always starts right here for me. So does craving, interestingly enough. Like, you know. But a heat thing, just noticing those little shifts. And those can be the prequel to the actual grab the donut or slap somebody. You know, if you catch it at that prequel moment, it doesn't have to happen. But it's really good to focus, so you see the difference.
Well, I mean,
you're talking on a cushion
I do it
thing,
off the
which is quite good.
I do it off. I mean, I do the daydreaming thing all the time.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you were
Everywhere.
talking. You were talking about that.
But the principle is the same whether it's on the cushion or off the cushion. If you notice some particular thing and then you have some kind of thing that you just said, I'm going to work with this. I'm going to pick this. This is an access point.
And the first thing is doing just what you're doing, which is you're seeing it. Wow, this is the thing I do. What is that? You know, what's it feel like in my body? Just keep seeing it. Yeah. Steve?
Okay, so I'm at an interesting crossroads right now that I'm looking for some dharmic advice on. So it's a work thing that I want to handle in the best way I can. So I have a project that I think is really good for humanity. And I'm very, very invested in. So first of all, I'm attached to it. I realize that it's like, suffering's going to happen pretty soon. If this doesn't work, I've accepted that. It's like, okay, I'm invested. It's going to hurt if it doesn't work.
So you see that setup.
Yeah, I see that setup.
But you're
It's
still
like,
going for it.
I'm going to walk right into that, and that's it. I've made that choice.
Okay.
I think it's okay to sometimes make that choice and just realize it's like,
It's all an
that's going to bite and that's going to really hurt. But sometimes I think it's worth it if you think it's good for the greater humanity. So the kind of thing that I'm struggling with is I realize that I'm going to have to be very direct to stand up for this project because there's diminished support for it. And I want to be, I don't know from a Buddhist standpoint how to be, how do you stand your ground really firmly in an absolutely compassionate and peaceful nature, but how to be unyielding and compassionate and respectful at the same time. This is kind of the crossroads because I see the reactions of if this is said in reaction to that, I'm gonna get angry. Which, if it's just within myself, that's one thing. But now I'm dealing with other people, and I can't have that.
What does unyielding mean?
Unyielding?
Yeah, how to be unyielding and compassionate. I want to hear what he thinks.
Well, unyielding is that the only outcome I believe is acceptable for this program is support for my organization.
Steve.
Yeah, no. So I put a pretty tight boundary on it. It could be. Someone might call me unreasonable. There's ego, pride. There's all kinds of stuff going on here.
Well, it's that you really care about this.
Right. Exactly.
So there's the heart. You've got the heart in it. And then, and this happens for us. Oh God, can I say it to you? I mean, Can you put yourself out there a little? So.
Oh yeah, I'm good for that.
I Zopa, know what is best for the world, and you all gotta follow me. And I'm doing this for your good, and I'm doing this with compassion, but I'm right, and I don't want to hear anything.
Did you just call me a megalomaniac?
That's why I said, can I take a risk? I know I can. But I'm being extreme. But the minute I started laughing because you said, how can I be unyielding and compassionate? And I was going, yellow light, red light going on. I really can't.
Yeah.
And you said it. You said, what you kind of said, if I keep going down this road, there's going to be a lot of suffering.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. So, and you wanted to end suffering, right? Wasn't that your first motivation?
Under the most convenient terms for myself.
Right, you're way too honest. You need to come to the mind training group. Tim Campbell calls this, he helps lead the mind training group, and he calls it, he says, I watch myself in just about and he says he's getting disgusted with this, but it's good he's seeing it. In every situation, I'm looking for my advantage. Even I disguise it in the goodness of all. They need to get good the way I want you to get good, Jeff, not the way you need or want. So, it's too easy. Give it up, Steve. No, I'm teasing, because there's some part in there I think is really important for you to champion, or whatever, and that's not even a word, but to see. But right here, right now, you're seeing the part that's not going to work. I, Steve. That ain't going to work. But there's something in there, the heart part, it's seeing, don't ever give up on that. Do you know what I mean when I say the heart part?
Yeah, I do, but I want to see how you distinguish the two.
One is the value that you're going to go forth with, and the other is the method. The method you're using is, it has to be Steve's way. That won't work. But the end of suffering thing inside something in that project, hold that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just shift the method. And I'll tell you, when I've done that, hold the value, that's the Buddhist worldview, or the compassionate wisdom worldview. Don't give that up. But when I've given up my thing of that view has to look like this, steps 1 through 10. When I give that up and really get more collaborative, like telling people, this is what I want to have happen, how do you see this would go? What comes out is so much better than what I thought of. Not always, but a lot. Is that making sense?
Yeah, you made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think you're saying.
Yeah.
Here's what I heard. That I need to keep focus on the meritorious parts of what I think this project would do for humanity, and release the importance of me being the actor towards that.
Yeah.
And kind of expend the ego, so I can change methods to just make sure that the end goal is reached. But
whether it turns out the way you
that doesn't
think
have to necessarily be in my vision of it.
Yeah. And you can still put out your vision, but just say, I want to hear others, and be open to being influenced. That's the hard part.
They're probably all wrong, though. So.
I know they'll be wrong. Oh, they'll be way wrong.
I feel like another
they'll be way wrong.
Another helpful piece for me is to try to remind myself in advance and during and after that all the other people, like, remember the love and compassion for all the other people involved, who I'm trying to promote this with, and who may see it differently, whatever. it's not just, well, there's this really good thing and these people are obstacles. But these people are actually good people who are also doing the best they can in whatever way, and I try to remind myself of ways that we're sympathetic to each other, or that we're
Similar.
in common, or that we're
Yeah.
and so then if I'm
Yeah,
then rather than I'm going to immediately oppose, and feel defensive and
Right.
because I bring a lot of that and that often doesn't actually need to be there, but I'm afraid of it being there, and so I almost create it by going into this.
Yeah, it's, bodhisattvas have to have, bodhisattvas don't have to, but they do have compassion for everyone in the scene. So I'm just reiterating what Dora said. So the ones you're seeing as oppositional, that's because there's no compassion. They're not included in your compassion plan.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, so get them in. And Ryan?
No, I was just
you were
enjoying
like-
the question
You
and
were enjoying
thinking
it.
exactly like so many situations that are exactly get myself in that pickle and just wanting to help in your way, being so I just relating to it.
Yeah, I saw you kind of bubbling up there. I didn't, with a lot of like, yeah. We've all done this.
Right.
Yeah, that was so cool that you put it out there like that. Thank you.
Yeah,
And-
nice and strong.
Yeah, and just move through. That's like way strong. Yeah.
I think particularly people who have a lot of processing power at their disposal can very often get trapped by being right.
Raise your hand.
And that, and then the problem becomes the problem really it turns into a problem when other people don't get it, and then you up the you just turn up the volume on being right.
Defensiveness up, openness down.
Yeah.
But it's not,
Right, it's absolutely.
It's not defensiveness; it's pure aggression.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
This is
'cause they're
offensiveness,
dumb.
not
Because
defensiveness.
they don't know what, they aren't very smart.
So you
must lead
just
them.
kind of crank it up, and you you say it over again, but louder. And in the back of your mind, there's the piece of "you idiot" is at the end of every statement. Why don't you get this? So if we actually do have something, I think one of the things that intrigues me in this question is how to be an advocate. How to actually carry something very positive
Right.
in, and be able to have the energy, engage the intelligence, and engage with the people in a way that really is kind of, it's our best move.
Right.
We're at the top of our game.
Without cultivating ego in the process.
Yeah. Well,
Well, without judging them so much.
without really just kind of screwing everything up.
The patience, the righteousness. Yeah,
all
I
those
guess
things.
those are
So
ego.
I think it's something that it's easy to kind of go into some fantasy about the mild-mannered bodhisattva who would never ruffle any feathers.
Oh yeah, that's a ditch too.
And quite often we will, if we're going to try to be a good person, the easy route is to just kind of keep a low profile, don't rock the boat, smile, nod politely even when people are saying things that are really you shouldn't agree with.
Yeah, and that's not the right thing to do.
It's not the right thing to do, but figuring out how
Be assertive.
how to advocate. I think it's a personal process, and you mentioned it. We have to be willing to fail.
Yeah.
We have to try something, and we have to then realize that that's actually, oh, I tried something, I might have to go apologize. I might have to recover from this. I might have to abandon a project. I might, whatever it is, I would have to work with that. So just trying, just thinking, oh, now I have another project of being a really good advocate, and I'm going to be unyielding in that regard. Unyieldingly good advocate. Now it will all turn out, because it doesn't always turn out. But I think it's a really an important thing to cultivate as part of the bodhisattva path. Have to actually bring that kind of energy in a way that's not fundamentally just aggressive.
Or squishy soft. Nice. That's two dishes, you know. You can eat the too rigid, aggressive, and the too loose, squishy. I'm nice. I never will forget the great advice I got from this very Christian boss I had once when I worked for the county, and I was describing a real pickle. Someone said pickle. The pickle I had gotten into with my staff, and he said, "You know what your problem is here?" And I said, "No." And he said, "You want them all to like you." And he said, "Give it up." And I realized I was being squishy soft. I knew some things that I needed to say firmly and do like that. And sometimes compassion takes that, like being in someone's face in a very no. But I wasn't doing it because I wanted them to like me. And I had this thought that when you're helping to run a project or somewhere, one of the jobs is have everyone like you. Oh, was that wrong? He said, no. He said, you do the right thing with kindness, with firmness, and some people will like you, some people will hate you, and some people won't care. But you can't do your stuff because of those things. And that gave me a tremendous amount of strength, because it was like, oh, and it's a refuge question. We're right back at refuge. My refuge is in doing the thing that has integrity, that's within the county rules. Ooh, are we okay?
Book fell down.
Book decided to jump off. Didn't like being on that shelf anymore.
Visited by somebody. And to do that, take refuge in the integrity and in the responsibility and the kindness. But sometimes it's not about nice and agreement and all that. So the two ditches, you can see them. You get too rigid, it's got to be my way, or you get, I better not say anything because they won't like me. But I think you were kind of over there a little.
Yeah, I wasn't telling.
And I think I know you're very smart and very kind, and you will find your way through this. I do know that.
Thank you.
I've sat with you enough times to know. But sometimes we have to back up, and we're not just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We go 1, like Bill was saying, one didn't work, okay. 1A, 1B, oh, I'm crashed. Okay, back to the cushion. Okay, step 2, can we try that? It's like that. That's the bodhisattva way. Yeah, that's why it takes 3 countless gradients, they say. Or no.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Oh, so glad you brought it up. So we're close to end, but maybe one more thing.
Well, just a quick, as I listen to all of this really sounds like the wisdom of contemplation. So we're contemplating really the effects of all of the choices, the attitudes we create, the intentions we set, and the responses that we have made in the past, and learn from them, consider responses in the present and in the future, and so we're really contemplating and using these skills well to help us make choices that help us live our highest ideals.
Yeah, we want that skill. And then there is the skill of letting go and letting unfolding occur. Wow. Just like when we're on the cushion. We've got, am I off the object? Am I on the object? Or we might even be doing a contemplation on loving kindness on the cushion. But you want to, even there, am I on I'm still on my metta, sending it to the world, or have I gone off on something? So, but also that just letting go, that just resting, watching We need both of those kinds. Yeah. Okay.
One of the things, another piece in advocacy, it takes a level of energy.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the principles I think that is important to recall is that as the level of energy goes up, it becomes more and more difficult to act with skill. And this is just this you can see in just the best corollary is in physical processes. Like if in a sport, if you're going to try to learn sort of backhand in tennis, you will perform reasonably well within one set of circumstances, but sprinting with absolutely no oxygen in your lungs and rushing and doing something, that it's likely that the skill will just fall apart.
Yeah, we lose our attention.
Everything falls apart. And so being able to be very clear about what happens when the energy goes up. And
Like
not essentially just going into fire department mode, just kind of now I'm going to just kind of crush everything, because that's the only thing I know to do when the energy is really up is just go into really total aggression. So being very careful about that and not going beyond what we can actually engage with. But to realize that the energy itself could actually be pure expression of bodhicitta too.
Yeah, and so when sitting on the cushion or off, when you feel that energy rise, it's really good to notice it. We want to be able to eventually work with a lot of high energy, but when you're out in the world and you're in a meeting and you feel that, it's a time to go, maybe I should just have some breaths and refrain from saying the next thing. It's just a signal right there, the energy itself. Bill's saying the energy itself is a signal. I very well may miss the ball here or smack it and hurt someone. Or doesn't mean don't do anything, it just like notice that. It's not usually the smoothest moves there.
Sometimes being just right with that silently is the most powerful thing that can happen.
Riding that high energy.
And just remain silent.
Yep.
Just be with it.
Yeah. So you get to try all these. The thing I like almost the very best that you brought up, you said, I know there's suffering. Right, you said it right away before you even described the problem. You said,
walk right into
I know I'm headed right there, and I think I'm going to walk right into it. And it's like, oh, why do that, Steve? Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
By this virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra. I've established all beings without exception in this state.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Wonderful discussion. Thank you. All right.